Welcome everyone. Today's topic is advanced financing options. Okay, we're going to be talking about conventional private money lenders and Harmonii lenders. Okay, so we're going to start by giving you the difference between all three and how are you going to leverage from them, which one you use first and why, what are the pros, the cons, and then I'm going to give you some real life examples. Okay, so we're going to start talking about Harmonii lenders. We're going to mention the pros, the cons, when you use them, when not to use them, why use them. So we're going to give all the ins and outs of the different financing options. Okay, we're going to be focusing on the main financing options. Okay, because we just want to make sure that you use the ones that make more sense as investors. Okay, so let's start with Harmonii lenders. What are the advantages of using Harmonii lenders? The biggest advantage is that you can close fairly quickly. So some of them, they can close in as little as 10 days, okay? But for the most part, usually they need about 3 weeks, okay? Now, second thing, that is very, very critical. Harmonii lenders are asset-based. So they're going to be looking at the deal itself, okay? So they're not going to be focusing on your income tax or experience as much as on the property itself that you're going to buy. They want to make sure that two things happen, that you have enough equity on the deal, and number two, that the debt coverage ratio is over 1.2. So we're going to talk about the debt coverage ratio in just a second. But just to give you a quick idea of what that is, they want to make sure that the income coming from the rents is going to pay all the operating expenses, and you're going to cash flow at least 20%. Okay, so let me just give an example. If, for instance, the mortgage on your loan is going to be $1,000. They want to make sure that you collect at least $1,200, okay? Because they want to make sure that you not only are able to pay the mortgage and the operating expenses, but you're going to cash flow a surplus of 20%, so $200, okay? Very, very simple. We're going to go over some examples of the debt coverage ratio. Next. What are the cons, the disadvantages of using Harmonii lenders? It's very expensive. In terms of interest, you're gonna get, the lowest I've seen is like 8.5, and then it goes all the way to, I've seen 17, 18%, okay? So it's super expensive. On top of that, you're gonna pay at least 1.5 all the way to 3 points. A point is 1% of the total loan amount. So if you're borrowing $100,000, 1 point is $1,000. And on top of that, it's a short-term loan. So typically it goes from 4 months all the way to a year. Next. I mentioned that it's a short-term loan, and some of them have prepayment penalties, but for most of them, they won't, okay? Next, it requires you to have skin on the game. What we mean by that is down payment, okay? So they're not gonna finance 100% of the purchase or 100% of the rehab. One of the big advantages is that they're gonna finance up to 85 to 90% of the purchase price. So you're gonna need to put down 10 to 15% down. But the great news is that they're going to finance 100% of the rehab, okay? So now let's talk about private money lenders. It's very, very similar to Harmonii lenders. The only difference is that they are individuals versus Harmonii lenders are institutions with a lot of money. So these are relationship-based. So individuals who chose to be passive in real estate and instead lend money to investors like you and me in exchange for a return. Okay, so let's take a look at the pros, the cons, when you use them and when not to use them. So this is cheaper than Harmonii lenders, but obviously more expensive than conventional lenders. We're going to talk about conventional lenders next. Now, again, these are asset-based, which is huge. It's a big advantage. So they're not looking at your FICO score, tax return as closely as they're going to be looking at the property itself. Again, they're going to be looking for two things. They want to make sure that you have enough equity on the property when you buy it. And second of all, they want to make sure that you cash flow. If you're going to do a buy and hold exit strategy, that is very, very critical. So they want you to cash flow at least 20% on top of all the operating expenses of the property. We're going to go over some live examples, how you compute the debt coverage ratio. Next. They're very, very flexible. So this is the great advantage of private money lenders, that pretty much you can negotiate the terms of the loan. And not only that, but many oftentimes they're going to finance not only 100% of the purchase, but also 100% of the rehab. Or they can finance up to, let's say, 90% of the purchase and 100% of the rehab. We've had cases where they finance everything, 100%. So having private money lenders available to you, it's such a big advantage. Okay, again, they're short-term loans. And then, as we mentioned, they can finance up to 100% of the purchase. Now, they will also charge you points. So typically, they're going to charge 2 points. The interest rate on private money lenders averages 12%, and they're gonna be at least a 4-term loan up to 12 months, okay? Now, let's take a look at the disadvantages. So they are relationship-based, so it's who you know, how well they know you. It is so critical for you to build rapport relationships with private money lenders. Next. So depending on your strategy, so in here, it's less scalable, right? Because private money lenders do not have unlimited resources. So they have just limited resources, and sometimes they lend that out to other investors. So it's not scalable. So if you want to build a $1 million rental empire, you cannot rely solely on private money lenders, okay? Next, let's talk about conventional banks. So these are the big banks, right? Like the Chase, Bank of America. In fact, our preferred partner is Homebridge. So in here, what are the benefits of using conventional lenders? Okay, so scalable financing, right? So you can have a lot of loans, but I'm going to show you how we use them and when we use them. So conventional lenders, we typically use them on the back end to refinance the expensive loan, right? Once we've done all the work, rehab the property and rented the property, then we're going to reach out to conventional lenders to pay off the Harmonii lenders and then put the loan into a longer term, lower interest rate. That's when we use the conventional lenders. And then obviously this is the cheapest financing option. Next, as I mentioned, it's a great option for doing refinances to use conventional lenders. Now, what are the disadvantages? So typically it requires, or for the most part, it requires a personal guarantor or a guarantor for the loan. So that will be you. Even if the loan is under your name, they require, under your entity name, they require you as individual to be the personal guarantor on the loan. Be responsible for the outstanding balance, okay? So you're still on the hook as the individual. Now here, they're gonna be taking a closer look, and underwriting is based on your FICO score, your personal income, W-2 income tax. So they're going to be paying closer attention to you as an individual, not so much as the property itself, but you as the individual. Now, for purchases or construction loans, it requires significant skin on the game. So it's similar to a rehab loan. There's a rehab loan. It's called 203K loan. Then they're going to want you to have 10 to 15% down. Okay, so they want to make sure that you have skin on the game. Next. Okay, so those are the three type of financing options that you typically have. Now let's talk about how you put them all together. There's a question on the line. So scalable loans is when you have a lot of loans. Exactly. So now let's just quickly summarize everything that we talked about. So we covered Harmonii lenders, private money lenders, and conventional lenders. Okay, so that's the private, very quickly, and the Harmonii lenders right here. Okay, so now the question is, when do you use each of them, and how do you use them, and when not to use them? Okay, so let's start from the basics. As investors, we want to buy amazing deals, and those amazing deals will most likely require rehabbing. Okay, it could be a cosmetic rehab, or it could be like a go rehab. So we try to stay light to medium rehab projects. Okay, we don't want to take on go rehabs. So when you are buying a property that requires rehab, then you have to use either a Harmonii lender or a private money lender. The reason why you cannot use a conventional lender is because conventional lenders want pretty much the property to be in move-in ready condition, okay? Unless you're gonna require construction loan. That's the 203K option that you have. But it has to be your primary residence. So as investors, if you wanna grow and build a multi-million empire, you don't want to use conventional financing because you won't be able to grow. So you have to use either Harmonii lenders or private money lenders. So the big advantage of Harmonii lenders or private money lenders is that they are asset-based. So they're gonna be looking at the property itself. So the only job that you have is to make sure that you find a great deal that has a lot of equity. So if the deal has a lot of equity, it's going to cash flow. You're gonna make a nice net profit on a flip, and therefore the bank is gonna be looking at one metric that's called the debt coverage ratio. What that is they wanna make sure that your income is going to be high enough to pay all the operating expenses of the property, and you are going to have a surplus of cash flow of at least 20% on top of that. So if all the operating expenses to run the property amount to 1,000, they want to make sure that you collect at least 1,200, okay? But if the property has equity, you're going to be able to cash flow and make at least a 20% return on the flip, okay? So again, you've got to use Harmonii lenders or private money lenders. It's expensive money. Both of them, it's expensive, but it's okay. Because remember, to grow exponentially in real estate, you need to use other people's money. So even if you have liquidity, even if you have cash in the bank, please don't use it. You've got to use other people's money. They're going to be charging you average, I would say 12% interest rate, 2 points, and then 4 months. That's about it. Now, so once you get funding for the deal, obviously you need to present your deal to get funded. To present the deal to get funded, you need pretty much 3 things. You need to show 2 successful exit strategies. So they want to make sure that if you are going to do a flip or a buy and hold, that either you are going to make at least a 20% return on your flip, or you're going to cash flow at least 20% profit on the buy and hold, okay? They also want to see the after repair value on the property. So once you've made all the improvements, they want to know what the ARV or after repair value on the property is going to be. So they want to see not only the ARV, but they want to see comps. They want to make sure that you've done your due diligence. And finally, they want to see the debt coverage ratio of 1.2 or higher. So we're going to take a look at that, and then you don't need to worry how to present the deal to get it funded, because with few clicks, I'm going to show you how you can get it done, okay? So you don't need to get into the technicalities. We're going to use a system to generate that report that lenders are looking for. Now, ideally, you want to start building relationships and rapport with private money lenders, okay? Private money lenders, they are individuals, right? So let me just pull up all the benefits and drawbacks of using private money lenders, but there are huge, tremendous benefits. With private money lenders, it's just an individual like you and me, except they have a lot of money, okay? And they don't want to be active investors, so they just want to become passive, get a return on their investment. So they're going to be lending money to investors like you and I. So again, it's relationship based. They're going to lend money to whoever they know, whoever they feel comfortable with. So if you're building relationship with a private money lender, the first time they might be hesitant to lend money to you, but if you partner up with somebody who's done deals in the past, who's got a history of flips or buy and holds, then private money lenders are going to be more comfortable, okay? Plus, you also need to do your due diligence, make sure that you show them you have equity on the deal, debt coverage ratio is over 1.2, and that the ARV on the property and the comps is there to show that you have enough equity on the deal. So you're going to be making money the minute you buy the property. And in ChicagoDealVault, we have over 6,000 private money lenders. Not only that, but if you're a DealVault member, we also have internal DealVault members who are private money lenders. Okay, so they're not actively buying properties, but they're lending money. So we can also put you in touch with our internal private money lenders. So that is a huge resource to tap into private money lending. So once you get the funding for the property, so they're going to ask you for the report that I show you to have those three elements, 2 successful exit strategies showing the comps, ARV, and the debt coverage ratio. They also need you to have a scope of work, okay? They want to know how much you're going to spend on the rehab. Why? Because they're going to be able to fund 100% of the rehab, which is huge, okay? So I'm going to give you a spreadsheet, if you're a DealVault member, that will show you very easily how to come up with an accurate rehab estimate, because they're going to be looking for that. And some private money lenders will also ask you for an inspection report. Yes, they want to make sure that you hire a professional inspector to go check out the property and then create a report, because they want to make sure that their money is safe. They want to make sure that you're not buying like a piece of junk. So they want to ensure that what you say is going to be the scope of work or the rehab matches the condition of the property, because they want to have an inspection report, plus they want to see your scope of work. Because when they give you the money for the rehab, they want to make sure that it makes sense what you're requesting. And something that is very critical, friends, even if they're going to give you 100% of the rehab money, they're not just going to give it to you before you start the project. They're going to give you the money once you complete the project. And you can have multiple phases in the project. So you can, let's say, complete phase 1. Let's say you spend $5,000. And then you have them take a look at it. If it's a Harmonii lender, they're going to send an inspector. So you can have multiple draws for the rehab money. So let's say $10,000, you completed phase 1. They're going to go check it out. And then if they say, yeah, it's complete, boom, they can release $10,000. In that way, you're not out of money altogether, okay? Are there any questions so far? Okay, yes, we are going to publish, Paola, this webinar. We're going to send the replay tomorrow. Okay, so that is the importance of using asset-based when you initially buy the property. Now, once you buy the property, you rehab the property, and you rent out the property, if you're going to buy and hold, obviously, then you need to refinance the property. What it means is that now it's time for us to use a conventional lender that is going to pay off the Harmonii lender or private money lender and put the loan into a longer term, lower interest rate. Okay. Now, there are some Harmonii lenders that have rental loans. Okay. So that is super, super cool because you don't need to go out and find a conventional lender. So you can just work with one lender, the Harmonii lender, and they can turn that loan into a rental loan once you've done all the work on it. Okay. So some people are asking about the spreadsheets. Yeah, we're gonna show you the spreadsheets. Absolutely, Debbie. So once you have the rehab, and then you have to request the draws to pay the contractors. Absolutely. So ideally, you divide the rehab in phases, and then contractors are going to understand that. So then you can pay for labor once you get paid by the Harmonii lender or private money lender. But material, you're going to need to buy that. So that is why you need to apply for business credit cards. Okay, it's so critical. We use business credit cards to buy material, and sometimes we use them to pay for labor. Because, for instance, when you work with plumbers, electricians, roofers, they're just going to give you a quote for the entire job, right? That includes labor and material. So you can oftentimes pay with a credit card, and that is highly advisable, right? Because again, we're using other people's money. We're using the bank's money to pay for the rehab, which we are going to get reimbursed as soon as we do a draw, and then they do an inspection, they check, everything is done, boom, you get paid. Okay, so that is in a nutshell the sequence, which one you have to use, when you have to use them, and why you have to use them. Okay, so now I want to make sure that there are no further questions on this, and then we can dive into an example. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example. This property, we are going to be closing on this property next week. Okay, so let me show you the property. And by the way, we have a list of 22 Harmonii lenders who are actively lending today. Okay, so in fact, I'm in touch with, I spoke with two of them today. One of them is Barnett Capital. The other one is Albeca, and we have this in a spreadsheet, so we can give you all of them. Please make sure that you send us an email because I want to make sure that you have financing already in place. Okay, so the first thing is to reach out to them, and even if you don't have a property right now on the contract, please, all you need to do is ask them for a line of credit. So that what they're going to do is they're going to ask you for your bank statements. They want to know your liquidity, and based on that, they're going to multiply that by 5 or by 10, and they're going to issue you a line of credit, so which you can use to include that with an offer that you make. Okay, so please make sure that you get your financing in place by reaching out to the Harmonii lenders. And here, private money lenders, we have them in ChicagoDealVault. We have over 6,000. Okay, so it's huge. So depending on the area that you're looking to buy, you can filter them by any county, any city. So for instance, I can put in Bolingbrook. I want to find out all the private money lenders in Bolingbrook. Let's assume that you're going to be buying properties in Bolingbrook. Boom, we have 19 private money lenders. So you're going to know what properties they funded. If you scroll to the right, when they funded and the date, okay? And most importantly, if you click on the name of the private money lender, boom, we're going to give you their email, phone number, landline, everything, right? So you need to start building rapport with these people to raise capital for your 2020 deals. And something really cool, just a tip of advice. In here, this is the mailing campaign system. We have templates, okay, that you can preview. So when you get on the phone with them, you can just use the templates as a script, okay? In a nutshell, you want to reach out to them. Let's say I'm gonna call Frank and say, hey, you know, Frank, I understand that you funded such and such and such property on this date. I'm a real estate investor buying properties in Bolingbrook. I was wondering if you would be interested in making a 12% return on your money. Is that something that you would consider? They're going to be over the moon, right? So that's how you start building rapport. That's how you start raising capital for your funds. So having access to private money lender is just such a huge advantage, okay? So reach out to Harmonii lenders that we're going to give you over 22. And then on top of that, you also need to reach out to private money lenders, because remember, these are relationship based, and these are the scripts that you can use to reach out to them, okay? So now let's go over the example that I mentioned. So we're gonna be closing on this property next week. And I'm gonna show you what they require for us to close on this. So the address is 915 South Elmhurst. This is it, Mount Prospect. So Mount Prospect is an A area, so it's like a very desirable area, great schools, great employment, everything, right? So I did a power search on this property. So as you can see, let me look at the date. Okay, so it said the auction date. So it was on the market, off the market in February, and they listed it for 194, okay? But since remember, we have the connections to buy properties directly from the bank. This is an REO. We got this property on the contract for 161,000, okay? The ARV on this property is between 160 to 187. In fact, the appraisal just came back a couple of days ago, and it appraised for 257, okay? So keep in mind, appraisers are super conservative. We believe ARV is at least 260 up to 287, but they appraise a property on the low end, which, you know, DealVault just nailed it, right? So it appraised 257. Now, something that is really powerful that you always have to pay attention to, and it's so critical for your numbers to work. This table, the max allowed offer, this is the most you should offer for the property given the ARV, with the assumption that you're gonna put in no more than 30,000 in rehab, okay? That is super important, meaning that it requires a light to medium rehab. This is the most you should pay. So look at the numbers. If we're gonna do a flip, the most we should pay is 169, a rental 197, a wholesale 156. We ended up paying 161 for this property, okay? Which pretty much we could take any exit strategy successfully. Not only that, but it's gonna allow us to get funding for the deal. Why? Because we have enough equity on the deal. So let me just give you a quick rule of thumb so that you don't even need a calculator, you don't need anything. So take the purchase price. In this case, we got the property for 161, add 100,000 to it. So 160 plus 100,000, it's 260. That should be your ARV on that property. It should appraise for 260. DealVault already tells me that the least it should appraise should be 260. And indeed, it appraised for 257. So when you have a property, just to quickly analyze it, add 100,000. If the ARV hits that number, you're gonna be able to flip it, rent it, wholesale it, pretty much anything. So when I presented the deal for funding, the bank told me, Hugo, please send us the comps and make sure that the debt coverage ratio is over 1.2. I said, you got it, okay? Because I wanna make sure that we get funding for this deal despite the crisis that we're going over. So let me show you what I did to get this deal funded. So the first thing that I did is I need to pull comps. So in fact, this property, even though the listing says 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, this is a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. So when I put my criteria for the comps, I'm gonna say, give me 3 bedroom, up to 2 baths in the last 6 months within a 1 mile radius. Okay, so I wanna pull all the comparables that sold in the last 6 months within a 1 mile radius, okay? And I wanna make sure that these comps have been rehabbed, okay? You don't wanna pull properties that are distressed because that's just gonna bring the ARV way down, okay? So what we're doing right now is we are accessing the MLS live to pull some comps, because remember, that's one of the first things they want to do. They wanna make sure that you have comps to come up with an accurate ARV. We got a lot of comps, friends. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna take a quick look at how much these properties sold for. So 235, 258, 295, 305, 317, 307, 292, 365. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna remove the outliers. So I know these properties, look at these. They have 2.5 bathrooms. The properties that are over 300,000, like 365, are not going to be a comp. So let me show you what the property looks like on the map. Okay, so I'm gonna do this street view. Okay, so on the map, we're gonna be able to see the comps. So the subject property is the blue icon. So right now, I'm gonna show you the street, and this is the subject property, okay? So it's a 3 bedroom, brick home, 1 car garage, huge backyard. So this is it, that's the property, okay? So now let me show you some of the very expensive comps. We're gonna need to remove those expensive comps. So we need to remove the outliers, the most expensive and the really cheap ones, okay? So this property sold for 362, but it only has 1 picture. So we're not able to see that, but I can see that it lasted 42 days on the market, 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Unfortunately, I cannot see that. Okay, so let's take a look at the second outlier, 365, okay? So, okay, this has a lot more pictures, okay? So let's take a look at this. So this is 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath. So this is a lot bigger. Look at that. It's got all the bells and whistles, recessed lighting. It's got a staging. So this is, look at the kitchen. Okay, so it's got all the bells and whistles. Everything is super expensive. Yeah, and I'm sure if we take a look at the bathrooms, yeah, the bathrooms, everything is so beautiful on this property, right? So these are gonna be the outliers. We know that DealVault is telling us that it's worth between 260 to 289. So I'm gonna remove the ones that are super expensive, and then the ones that are not. We're gonna remove these. 295, that's a comp. Okay, so we're gonna keep the ones that are truly a comp, and then it's gonna recalculate the ARV, right? So here, I think I might have another outlier, 292, I think that's, no, that's fine. Oh, we have a 317. Yeah, that's an outlier. So we're gonna remove everything, anything that is over 300. This one is 307. So I wanna make sure that we come up with a better, so 293, 297, okay? So we pull some comps. The next thing that you're gonna do is very simple, the debt coverage ratio, okay? So they wanna make sure that if you buy and hold the property, you're gonna cash flow a surplus of 20%, okay? So very simple. We already tell you how much the rent is gonna be. All we need to do is put in some expenses. Utilities are paid by the tenant. Maintenance, you're gonna spend maybe $75 a month. Insurance, taxes. So let's look up the taxes. To look up the taxes, I'm gonna click on the owner loan tab. They are $5,400. Okay, so let me go back to the calculator. 5,400 divided by 12, it's like 450. Okay, 450. How much are we buying the property for? We're buying the property for 161,000. 1, 2, 3. how much are we putting in rehab? I'm gonna show you the scope of work. And this is a spreadsheet that we're gonna give you, okay? So this is the scope of work that I sent over to the bank, okay? So that's phase one, pre-construction, demo work. It's gonna be about 2,000 for demo work, and then core and shell, okay? So we're gonna fix the roof, some landscaping, garage. So that's about 1,900. Then if we scroll down, some electrical work, about 2,000, plumbing work, another 2,000, doors, primarily painting the whole house, 3,000, flooring, another 3,000, kitchen, about 6,500. We're gonna buy new cabinets, so the kitchen is gonna be brand new, and then bathrooms. We're gonna redo both bathrooms, so each bathroom is about 4,000. One is on the first level, the second one is on the second level. So the rehab comes out to be a little bit less than 30,000, okay? So we're gonna put in right here, 30,000 for the rehab, and then calculate. Okay, so right here, you see the debt coverage ratio, it's 197. So assuming we buy and hold the property, this property is gonna cash flow quite a lot, $673. Okay, therefore the debt coverage ratio is quite high. So when the lender saw these, they said, Hugo, no problem, it's gonna get funded. So the way to compute the debt coverage ratio, it's right here. Is the net operating income, okay? And the net operating income is pretty much your income minus all your operating expenses without taking into account the mortgage payment, okay? And then divided by the mortgage payment of 692. So that gives you the debt coverage ratio. But again, you don't need to worry because we're computing that on your behalf. And then we have the flip option. So we know that we can sell this property for easily 280. 1, 2, 3. And then the rehab is gonna be, let's say 35,000. And then commission, we're gonna pay 5% commission. Utilities, we're gonna pay the utilities when we rehab the property. Taxes are gonna be $450 a month, and then we're buying the property for 161. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so calculate. What you wanna know here is your net profit. So the net profit is gonna be close to 66,000. Okay, so the rule of thumb is if you sell the property for 280, you need to make at least 20%. So 20% of 280 is 56,000. We're gonna be making over 20%, 66,000. So 10,000 on top of the profit you're supposed to make. So all you need to do is, all the numbers make sense financially. So I'm gonna click on generate report right here. So this is the report that we are going to present to the Harmonii lender or the private money lender to get the deal funded, okay? This is what they need to see. So right now, let's just pull this up, make it big. Okay, so this is the subject property. Just the basic information, 3 bedroom, 1 bath, and this is our analysis on the flip. So we're gonna be making $66,000. We're buying it for 161. We're putting 35,000 for rehab. Holding expense and closing expenses is gonna be about 3% or 8,000. So the whole project cost is gonna be a little bit over 200,000. But assuming we sell it for 280 minus the closing expenses, current costs, we're gonna be making 66,000, which is a very nice return on investment, okay, in about 6 months. Now, the buy and hold, this is what they wanna see, debt coverage ratio, okay? They wanna see how you are going to cash flow if you buy and hold the property. So assuming the rent is 2,000 minus all the operating expenses without the debt coverage, without the debt service or mortgage, divided by the mortgage is going to be 197. So they want to make sure that it's at least 1.2. So the higher, the better, right? Because we're going to be cash flowing a lot more. So we're going to be cash flowing over $500 on a buy and hold, which is awesome. And then they want to see some comps right here. We have the comps. of the property, and then we're going to show them side by side. So once they see this report, pretty much they're going to fund the deal. Okay, so very, very simple report, and that's what they need to see. Okay, so they want to see that the ARV is so critical because you're going to need to pay them off. So they want to make sure that you're going to be able to refinance the loan. Okay, so that you have enough equity on the deal to pay off the outstanding loan from the Harmonii lender. So this is the document that they're going to be asking you for. Very simple. And then now to close on the deal, they're going to need you to have insurance on the property, which for this property is going to be about $1,200. They need you to have title insurance, so the attorney is going to take care of that. And then you're going to need to sign a couple of forms where they're going to be able to do ACH, meaning they're going to be able to withdraw the mortgage payment from your savings or checking account. And they also require a W-9 form, okay, for tax purposes. So it is that simple. That's all they require for you to buy the property. And then, as I show you the spreadsheet, they are going to be able to fund the rehab. But again, keep in mind, they're going to give you the money every draw that you request. Okay, so they're not going to give you, in this case, 30,000 up front. No, so we're going to need to fund the initial stage of the rehab. How are we going to fund it? We're going to be using business credit cards. I talked about that at the bootcamp. Make sure that you have business credit cards, which are not directly tied to your FICO score or anything, which is wonderful. Okay. If you don't have the list of business credit cards, we're going to send them to you. Just send us an email to support at ChicagoDealVault.com. We're going to make those available. So that's how you use business credit cards to buy materials and sometimes to pay for labor. But right away, you need to request a draw inspection. They come, check out the progress, and based on your scope of work, they're going to release a partial amount. Okay, and then that's how you pay off the business credit card. Very simple. So that's how you leverage from the business credit cards that I mentioned on Sunday. So we're going to make sure that you have access to those. So now let's assume that we've done all the work on the property. Now it's time to rent the property. So when you rent the property, you have a lease, then you can reach out to either the Harmonii lender. They might have a program where they can turn the rehab loan into a rental loan, which is huge, right? Because you don't need to do another appraisal. You can save on closing costs. I love that option, right? So that is something that is available, but otherwise we're going to give you our preferred conventional lenders. So you go to preferred partners, and then we use Homebridge, okay? So all you need to go is to go to lenders, and boom, we're gonna give you Homebridge and Juan Lawyer's contact information. Boom, right there. Okay, so it's that simple. But I just want to make sure that you understand the sequence of events and how you're gonna use funding. So remember, number one, make sure that you have your entity created, because you're gonna be applying for business credit cards once you have your LLC or your S Corp. Okay, so you're gonna be using those credit cards to pay for the rehab, which you're gonna get reimbursed by the Harmonii lender or the private money lender. Okay, so once you start the rehab, please make sure that you stay within budget. So when you create the scope of work, you always need to add a cushion, 5,000 to 10,000 for unexpected expenses. That is so critical. Okay, so make sure that you add that into your scope of work, because there's always unexpected items that arise on the rehab. Okay, and then obviously once you finish the rehab, then you're going to get reimbursed 100% for it. And then if you use business credit cards, you're going to use that money to pay them off, okay? Because you don't want to incur debt. You want to just pay that off. And then you're ready to refinance, okay? So when they refinance, they're going to be looking at the ARV. right, of the property, and they want you to have at least 25% equity. So for instance, if the property appraises for, let's say, I'm gonna be very conservative, 270, they want you to have at least 25% equity. So they are going to lend you up to 200,000. But think about it. The purchase price was 161, and the rehab was 30,000, okay? Perfect. So you have to have at least 25% equity. When you refinance, they want you to have skin on the game or at least 25% equity. And then the rest, you can tap into up to 200,000, okay? So easily, we can not only pay for the Harmonii lender loan or the private money lender loan, the rehab, and then we can also cash out up to $10,000. That's how we recycle money, okay? But again, rule number one, friends, you've got to have at least 100,000 spread between the purchase price and the ARV. That's it. If you don't hit that number, it's not a good deal. It's not gonna cash flow. It's not gonna make the net profit that you need on the flip, and you won't have enough skin on the game or equity when it comes to refinance on the back end, okay? Again, from the purchase price, add 100,000, and that needs to be the number the property appraises for after the rehab has been done. 100,000 on top of it. And that is with the assumption that you are gonna do a light to medium rehab, meaning that your rehab should not exceed 35 to 40,000. Then you're gonna hit the debt coverage ratio, you're gonna hit the right ARV for you to do a refinance for the deal to get funded. It is that simple. So friends, I just wanna quickly summarize how we are going to be able to use other people's money to not only buy the property, rehab it, and then put it into a long-term loan, lower interest rate. And the beauty about these, friends, is that we're learning how to use debt, because guess what? The wealthy or the rich become richer. You know why? Because they know how to use debt and taxes. So how do they use debt successfully? Just the way that I'm showing you. They are using other people's money, and on top of that, guess what? They don't pay for the debt. Guess who's gonna pay for the debt? Tenants. When you rent the property, the tenant is gonna pay for your mortgage, and on top of that, the tenant is gonna put positive cash flow in your pocket. That's how the rich become richer. And not only that, but when you have an entity and you buy your real estate under an entity, guess what? You're gonna have huge tax benefits. Your number one tax advantage is gonna be depreciation. Not only that, you're gonna be able to write off a lot of expenses. Therefore, if you make 100,000 in profit under your entity, you're gonna get to keep most of it, okay? That's how the rich become richer. Unlike people who have a job, they're in the rat race, right? So if they make 100,000, guess what? The government is gonna take 20 to 30%, okay? But if you're in real estate and you buy properties under your entity, guess what? You're gonna get to keep most of it. And not only that, but you are going to increase your net worth over time. Why? Because you're buying appreciating assets. Property values go up over time. Why? Because population is growing. There's need for a scarce resource, which is housing. Therefore, rents are gonna go up, property values go up. Therefore, your monthly cash flow is going to go up, your net worth is going to go up. That's how you achieve financial freedom and freedom of time, knowing how to use debt to your advantage, okay? So think about this. When you incur good debt is going to trigger positive cash flow in your pocket by the tenants, okay? So that is good debt, okay? Bad debt is something that you buy, but it's triggering an expense. You are pretty much sending money out of your pocket, okay? So that's a liability. You don't want liabilities. You want assets, appreciating assets. And not only that, but I just show you how you're gonna be able to leverage from different financing options to buy the home, rehab it, and put it into a longer term, lower interest rate. Are there any questions on the lines, friends? Because I just gave you pretty much all the secrets to really, really build your rental empire. So I'm gonna take, there are a lot of questions on the line. So I'm going to answer those very quickly. Debbie, what's the name of the spreadsheet? So we're gonna send you the spreadsheet. So I'm gonna put some instructions in the chat so that you send those an email and then we'll send you those. So ask private money lenders for a line of credit and submit with offer. Is that correct? Yes. But private money lenders can give you a letter stating that you can tap into their money. And also you can do the same with Harmonii lenders. Another question is, you got the property for 161,000. What happened to the balance of 274? Great question, Jessica. Guess what? The bank wrote that off. So it's the bank's loss. And then it's our gain. So the bank's loss is our gain. We're buying this property for $161,000. Why? Because we have the connections and we're making those connections available to you. So when you have access to ChicagoDealVault, especially the yearly membership, okay, you are Blue Angel, we're gonna enable this tab right here, shadow inventory. So we're gonna give you access to this type of inventory where you can buy properties for 50 cents on the dollar, okay, without any competition directly from large banks. So it's a huge benefit, but it's only available for yearly subscribers. And you have to have your entity in place and you have to have your financing line up, okay? So you need to talk to Harmonii lenders, get a line of credit from them. So yeah, another question is, do you calculate the vacancy, maintenance, and management fees when calculating cash flow projection? Absolutely. You have to take into account your maintenance. Usually I do 75 or so, because pretty much we're making the property in such a nice condition that the maintenance is very minimum, $75 to $80 per month, okay? Because we're pretty much redoing, updating the kitchens, the bathrooms, flooring, painting, light fixtures, some plumbing and electric. So the things that are gonna go wrong are very minimal. And then you obviously need to take into account management, okay? Because you don't wanna manage the property. So it's $50 per unit, fixed cost. Now, another question, is the boot camp available? Yes. So we have the replay for the boot camp. Look, it's only available for Blue Angel members. So if you're a Blue Angel members, we're gonna send you the replay. Another question, did you get this property through auction or did you make an offer prior to the auction? So great question. This property is bank-owned property, okay? So the bank owned this property. They sent this property to auction.com, but since we have access to every single property.com, Hudson and Marshall, we know the bank's reserve, meaning how much the bank is gonna sell it for. So if we run the numbers and it makes sense, we can buy the property, put it from the back door, even if people are overbidding each other in the auctioning platforms. So this is priceless. Accessing this inventory from large banks is priceless, because regardless of who's bidding on the auctioning sites, we can pull it from the back door, okay? But time is of essence, friends. Another question is, how do you pay interest to Harmonii lenders if all you borrow is Rehab Plus? Okay, so when you get the loan from the Harmonii lender, all you pay is interest, okay? It's an interest-only loan. You're not making any payments towards the principal. That is why it's a short-term loan. So the Harmonii lenders or private money lenders, they just want to make their money on the interest, right? So you're not paying anything towards the principal. That is why you need to refinance, right? You need to pay them off. So you bring the conventional lenders to pay them off, or some Harmonii lenders have a rental loan. Okay, so you can just flip that rehab loan into a rental loan, which is awesome. Another question is, we are in the process of making LLC, waiting for paperwork. Can you be our mentor? Yeah, absolutely, Debbie. 1 month, absolutely. Another question is, so we need to get the LLC and line of credit, obviously. Yeah, for sure. Before we can put an offer, absolutely. You need your LLC, your line of credit before you can start making offers, because otherwise they're not gonna take you serious. And to buy this type of inventory, like the one I showed you, you have to buy it under your entity, LLC, S Corp. And the reason why is because Harmonii lenders do not want to lend money under your personal name. Why? Because if you default, guess what? They're going to take you to the foreclosure process, but Illinois is a judicial state, so it can take up to 2 years before they can foreclose on the property. They don't want that. However, if the property is under your entity, they can foreclose on the property in less than 6 months. So they're going to get their money back a lot quicker. Therefore, they will not lend money under your personal name. It's too risky for them, and it's fine, right? It's even safer for you because you have asset protection when you buy properties under your entity. It's a big benefit. Asset protection for funding reasons and for tax benefits. Are there any other questions on the line? Okay, so we have a good crowd. We're gonna send you the replay, friends. We are going to run another boot camp at the end of the month, so please make sure that you sign up for it. I'm gonna send you the link. It's right here. So we have a boot camp set up for June 28th. Okay, so please RSVP. Very important. And something really cool, friends, we are going to be running a bootcamp in Spanish. So the Spanish bootcamp will be, okay, the English version is going to be the same day at 1 p.m. on June 28th, okay? It's a Sunday. So now, because of a high demand of Spanish, we're gonna run the whole thing in Spanish at 9 a.m. And the same thing will be done at 1 p.m., but it's gonna be in English. So make sure that you RSVP, super, super important. We're gonna give you new secrets because by then, hopefully the courts and things have reopened. So we're gonna readjust the bootcamp for what you need done, okay? Now, if you want access to buy properties like we do, you need to sign up for or upgrade to the Blue Angel, okay? So the way to do that, to upgrade, is go to this website if you're new, and then select special Blue Angel. Promo code is funding. Okay, so the promo code, I'm gonna put it on the screen, is funding. Could be lowercase, uppercase. Or if you're an existing member, just send us an email saying upgrade to Blue Angel, upgrade to Blue Angel. And guess what? You're gonna be saving, when you upgrade to Blue Angel, about 20%, okay? So you're gonna be paying equivalent to $120 per month, which is less than a cup of coffee a day, okay? So if you wanna have access to this inventory that you can buy paying 60, 70 cents on the dollar, no competition, and being able to fund the deal with Harmonii lenders, please send us an email to upgrade to Blue Angel. You're gonna be saving money from the monthly subscription. And then if you are a DealVault member, please send us an email to support at ChicagoDealVault. Okay, and then ask for the Rehab spreadsheet. Also for the hard money lenders list that we're gonna make available to you.